All right, first of all, good evening, good afternoon. I want to thank Chairman Pitts and his team with respect to multiple conversations we've had about what certainly moving forward after the DOJ, and we've been anticipating the DOJ report, and we are certainly in a space now that we are happy that it has come out. It has right now in it 109 different remedial opportunities for us as we continue. I do want to point out that if you look at it in its depth, it is a point-in-time study, if you will, and a lot of the things we have worked with the board over the past few months to accomplish, and wanted to highlight some of those. We look at, when I took office as sheriff, we had a population of 3,700 individuals, 600 of them sleeping on the floor. We work with the Board of Commissioners to develop an outsourcing plan. Right now, the population has decreased, ultimately because we have had and formed an inmate advocacy unit, a unit that has gone through and combed through over 30,000 records, work with the DA's office, work with the public defender's office, work with the judges on consent decrees, and release nearly 1,400 people that were considered nonviolent. We also take a look at our accreditation efforts, both with respect to NCCHC, the health accreditation, which we have since attained. We look at some of our daily accomplishments. We have, much as the DOJ report suggests, we have ongoing conversations daily with our command staff in terms of what it looks like for us to continue to move forward after each incident. Use of force, reporting, we have revamped that process, and we've revamped some training as we have gone along over the last few months. So we're committed to continue to work with the Bureau of Justice Assistance Program, as well as the National Institute of Corrections when it comes to what going through some of these remedial efforts look like. And I would suggest to you, certainly with the board's collaboration, we have been able to do some things both structurally to the building that ultimately the chairman will cover, as well as programmatically in terms of what it looks like for us to hire, retain, and really focus on a better sheriff's office. So I'll turn the mic over to the chairman, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff, and good afternoon, everyone. I concur with the sheriff. We've come a long ways in really a short period of time, and we have a few steps yet to go. But I'm encouraged about where we are. I was eagerly, and we as a board, eagerly awaiting the report from the Department of Justice, which we received. I've not had a chance to read it in its entirety yet, but we'll do so. But what I understand, it's pretty comprehensive, but we've made a lot of changes and adjustments so far, although I will admit that we have things that we need to accomplish going forward, working with the sheriff. So I think that today is a time of us looking forward and not backwards. How do we accomplish some of the things that have been that were pointed out in the study? But I'm in the process now reviewing the detailed report that was issued, and we look forward to working with the Department of Justice as we move forward, but more importantly, working with our sheriff to make sure that we abide by what's in the report and anything that may be forthcoming. We share the concerns that were outlined, and we're going to be working jointly, cooperatively to address them. We've already begun working on several things, including our jail blitz plan, which is in force now, making considerable progress there, where we've identified issues in 9 of our 11 housing units, and they should be 9 of 11 rather should be finished and completed by the end of the year. The board has also approved spending up to about $300 million to fully address the facility needs. In our meeting on Wednesday, as a matter of fact, the hope is to name a program or project manager for the team to assess all of the needs that they can identify. So I'm excited about where we are, and believe that we're headed in the right direction. I've said all along that we will have to comply with whatever the Justice Department recommends, and that's what we're in the process of doing now. So thank you all for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sheriff. We can take a few questions at this time.
Hi there, Eric Perry with Fox 5. You guys seem positive and optimistic, but to be honest, the tone this morning was really damning from the Department of Justice. How serious is this, and were you guys already making plans and making changes before now, or because earlier this morning it seems like no changes had been made?
Well, I view that a little differently. If you look at what was said this morning, the tone and tenor was, none of this is new. This is decade-old problems, some that predate certainly the chairman and I relationship, but ultimately it also said, and it was also pointed out very, very poignantly, these are fixable opportunities. And so that's what our plan is as we get ready to move forward, is to be able to fix each one of these opportunities and move forward.
Sheriff, the DOJ said that some of the violence stems from the fact that, or stems from a lack of an adequate classification system that results in really violent inmates being housed with more vulnerable inmates. Do you have any response to that, and is that something you're trying to address?
So we are addressing that. I have said quite loudly that we will not be able to just simply throw staffing at this. We're going to have to embrace technology, and we're working with our IT department to do just that. There are classification systems that are a little more robust, and we are presenting those as we get ready to move toward the new budget cycle as well.
I just interviewed Andrea Young with the ACLU, and she believes that a big thing that could help with this, I know y'all have talked about, there's just not enough space for all of the inmates, and a big issue she saw was the fact that a lot of people in there can't afford to bond out, and a lot of people in there might not necessarily be in there because of a concern of violence or a concern of being a danger to society. Do y'all feel that maybe there is a systematic change that needs to be in place for the people who do end up in the jail to begin with? So the filtering system of who is jailed in the Fulton County Jail versus, just everyone in jail and changing how the jail functions.
Well, we don't have the luxury of predicting who is brought to the facility. You look at what some of the conversations had around misdemeanor versus felonies, et cetera. And so we have less than 200 felons there, and ultimately most of those are domestic violence related. And so we don't have the luxury of saying who comes and goes, but what we do with it through the inmate advocacy unit is really pull. I thought I said less than 200 misdemeanors. Right, I want to make sure I'm clear. So they're less than 200 misdemeanors. The rest are felons. But those are domestic violence related. And so to that extent, we work with the DA's office, we work with the public defender's office to see whom we can really get out of jail if it is applicable. But going through, and I mentioned our inmate advocacy unit, there are times when we find somebody that has a bond that has dwindled down to less than $1,000, $500, $10, or whatever it may look like, and then we get them out of jail. But we can't just let them go. We try and connect them with their families. And that's why it's important to have such programs. And we've invited the ACLU and a number of different community-based organizations in to really help not only see that, but to see what they have to offer as well.
Last question.
Is there still a push from the sheriff to build a new jail? A lot of the things inside of that report was for structural. They cited some of the inmates going between the walls and darkened alleyways and things like that. Is there still a push? Are you still pushing for a new jail?
So it's a great question. And one thing that we have to recognize is that we are going to work with the facility we have. The Board of Commissioners has approved, as you heard Chairman say, up to $300 million in renovations. You have to understand that facility was built to warehouse people. And the first thing we have to do is change the culture of how we get people processed through courts, et cetera. Because can you imagine if we had 1,000 less people even than we had today? And so ultimately, we have to make sure we focus on adjudication. Specifically, we have to have a replacement facility at some point in the future. And that is at the will of the board and the appetite there. But ultimately, a $300 million renovation is a huge step forward.